Have you been dreaming or planning of coming to the diaspora? Well, that's a very big step to make, guys, because it requires more than just a passport or a ticket. My name is Cecilia. This is Zawi TV. And in this video, this particular video, I share real practical tips for anyone considering moving abroad for either study, for a better life, for whatever you might have in mind. In this video, I focus on the life-changing role that education and skills play in your successful future. I'm talking about the power of education. Now, in the first place, it is very important to figure out why you want to go to the diaspora. Purpose matters because it's going to be the motivating factor in all this. Are you going there just to further your education and come back to your country? Are you going there as a content creator, moving from one country to the next, creating content for your channel? Or are you going to the diaspora to try and move your family with you for a better future? Now, eventually, whatever purpose, I think everybody is trying to move to the diaspora for a better future. This is where I'm going to bring in the importance of education, especially for the young ones. This is a 60+ lifestyle content channel, but I find I also have people in their 30s, in their 40s, young, who might still be intending or planning or dreaming to move to the diaspora. I want to tell you the importance of education because you are still young, and I want to stress the fact that you do not run away from education. It's going to help you to get a better life in the diaspora. Some people have not done well in their countries of birth, and they think by moving to their diaspora, they are moving to the diaspora will better position them for jobs to make money. Yes, you're going to have a job in the diaspora, definitely. But remember, if you are not educated in your country, the chances are in the diaspora, you're also going to be relying on menial jobs that don't pay as much as you would want to be paid. A few or some may be excited about making a paycheck, which they may never have had in their life. If you have never earned income, or you've been earning less than 200, less than 300, and all of a sudden you start earning 900 or 1,000 pounds or 1,000 US dollars, it might sound like a lot of money. But trust me, when you move to the diaspora, you are moving now. There are a lot of people who have gone ahead of you. When you go there and open your mind, open your eyes, be observant, you're going to see that there's different classes of immigrants in the diaspora, and most of it has a lot to do with their levels of education. I'm not running away from the fact that there may be some people who are so lacking and maybe have managed to secure some businesses that can make them money and live a very good lifestyle. But the primary factor in having a very good life, guys, is always education. Education for better life is the reason most people send their children to school, whether be it in the diaspora or in their mother countries. So don't underestimate it, or come at me and say, oh, I'm not educated like that, but I'm doing well. Yes, it does happen to some people. It's like winning a state lottery, right? We can't run away from that. But let's focus on what people should be aiming at when they move to the diaspora, for them to have a better life, which they've actually relocated for. In that way, the world can open up to them. Now, education is not just a university degree. Sometimes it's vocational training, it's some kind of certificate or a diploma. Have something to your name. and then be prepared when you get to the new countries to further your education. Continue to learn and learn and learn. And before you leave your country, make a decision as to which country you're going to relocate to. It's going to be easier to move to, if your country, let's say I'm just giving an example. Let's say your African country is one such that it is English speaking, then it will be easier for you to move to an English speaking country. Some African countries are French speaking, some are Portuguese speaking, so consider or put all that into consideration. If you're going to move to Germany, you'd have to learn the German language. If you're going to move to Portugal, you need to be able to speak Portuguese. If you're gonna move to UK, Australia, US, Canada, you're gonna have to be able to speak English, because now that's gonna make it easier for you should you intend to go back to school to further education for a better life, guys. Because there is no challenge as to somebody who can't speak Germany, you go to Germany. I'm just giving this an example. Or you speak Germany and you want to go to Canada where they speak English and or French, and now you're trying to learn French as a second language first before embarking on a college diploma or university degree. That's gonna take you long. And if you are already in your 30s and or early 40s, it's taking away from the time that you would be having to raise a family or take care of family members and or your wife and children. So make sure you go, and it's easier even to further the education that you've had prior in your country than to start a new degree, which some people have done and it has worked well depending on exactly what you are doing. Also do some research regarding the country that you are planning to go to, which degree or diploma programs best, I would say best, for lack of a better word, for immigrants. You know, you found, or people find out now when they come, or even they are back home, a lot of people have gone into the diaspora and they've gone to the healthcare sector because it's one sector where it is easier to find your job, more so if you have your qualifications, you know. But bear this in mind, it's not just a come into the diaspora, get a job, or walk into a classroom. Education is going to be important. Whatever education you've attained in your mother country or birth country is still going to be helpful. I know most of the diaspora countries may not fully consider education you've acquired back home, but trust me, I've walked the road before. When you come to these countries, they want to test your English. Let's say you've decided to enroll into a college, right, or university. They're going to test your English. They're going to look at what you have attained before, and they'll give you some English proficiency tests. These English proficiency tests are going to place you in a category where do you need to take English classes for a year or for 2 years before you can start your program. So if you've been educated back home, be it in English or be it German or Portuguese, however, it's going to put you at a pedestal. You're going to be, your education back home is going to be like a springboard, because while some people may be required to take English classes for a year or two before starting their prerequisite classes or their main program, you may have to take an English course for just a semester, maybe for just 3-4 months, because you were educated back home. All I'm trying to say is to emphasize the role or the importance of education wherever you go. A lot of people have come into the diaspora, some even thinking that those who went to school back home, it was a waste of time. No, it wasn't a waste of time. Let me say this. there are people who have come into the diaspora and they've probably just had minimal education in their home countries, but after moving to the diaspora and they've looked at the way people live, they've admired and they've been inspired, let me say, and they've decided, I want to go to school, because the opportunity is there, or the opportunities are there for immigrants, no matter your age, to go to school, right? So they go to school. But if you have left your country and you had minimal education level, it's gonna take you longer. Like in North America, when I was in the United States, you had to do your GED. Your GED is something like equivalent to maybe your ordinary level certificate, if I was to compare with Zimbabwe. And if you did not pass that back home, it might continue to be a challenge. You're going to pass it eventually because the education system is designed that way. But it might take you, I know some people have had to take GED for 2, 3, or even 4 years, trying to acquire or achieve GED education level. Okay, your counterparts who had more or better education, they did not even have to take GED classes. They probably just took a semester of English, or maybe didn't even have to, and then they just started in their program. By this time you are graduating your GED, your counterparts have already graduated with a university degree, maybe in accounting, maybe in nursing, and maybe they're already proceeding to even further studies. So you see where it's going to help you. I'm not saying this to discourage people. I'm saying don't come here and you think education is a waste of time. It's actually a privilege that people can come here and be able to start from where they left and attain some education for better life. And I know quite a number of people who have done so, because a lot of people associate coming to the diaspora with being a care worker, and then they make money, they build a house back home, and when they're old they'll go back. I'm not saying you should not be a care worker. For the young people, my advice or my take on it is, if you are young, if you are in your 30s, in your 20s, even your 40s, being a care worker should just be a starting point. Everybody, or I'll say almost, not everybody, almost everybody has been a care worker at some point. So that's still gonna be helpful, because in some countries, as an immigrant, you need to pay for your tuition if you need to go for further studies. Like if you want to go for a diploma, if you want to go for an associate degree nursing, or if you want to do university education, you are going to be at an advantage if you are a care worker first, because now you can earn money to pay for your tuition, right? So, and the jobs, care worker jobs, are easy to get. All I'm saying is, if you are 30 years, just to give an example, wouldn't it make sense, rather than be 30 and retire at 65, 35 years after you have started working as a care worker, wouldn't it be better to give up 4 or 5 or maybe even 6 years of your stay in the diaspora to do some education and then upgrade yourself? Maybe you are a registered nurse, maybe you are a physician assistant, or you are even a medical doctor. Wouldn't it be better that you see yourself go up gradually and allow yourself this care worker position to be a springboard for success, a springboard for opportunities? And that way you can afford to live a more comfortable life. Why I'm saying so? Not everybody that comes is going to be able to work as a care worker. 1, you need the certification. 2, it's not meant for everybody. So a lot of other people may end up doing other menial jobs. And the one downside to it, guys, trust me, I've walked the same road. When I moved to the diaspora, I went to the US first. And there's no way. I was a high school teacher in Zimbabwe after graduating from the University of Zimbabwe. I went back to the University of Zimbabwe to do a graduate certificate in education. So I was a well-trained high school teacher, right? But when I went to the US, I couldn't talk about my education. The only way my education helped me is when I took those English classes, because I had applied to go to college to do nursing. My English was at a level where I just had to do, I can't remember how long, a very brief English course. And it also helped me in my nursing program, just understanding, because there were other students from other countries that started the nursing program and they fell out. Maybe their English was not to the level where the college thought they would be safely practicing in the hospitals. So it did help. So my point was, I also worked as a care worker. It was a requirement in one of the states. I remember I started in Dallas and then going to North Carolina. I think it was North Carolina where being a care worker was a requirement into the nursing program, because they say if you're gonna be having care workers work under you, you have to understand the kind of work they are doing. You have to really know. So, but that program only took about a day, I think about 3 days, but not all states did that. But all I'm saying is the education will help you. If you didn't have that, do whatever it takes. You know, the semesters, the years move really fast. Before you know it, you'll be graduating and patting yourself in the back, saying, oh, I did it. Don't come and jump from one menial job to the other, because life is so fast-paced in the diasporas. People go to work, some people Mondays to Fridays, 8 to 5 jobs. On weekends, there's lots of things to do, guys. Going to the beach, traveling to the islands, and you name it. Holidays come and people are barbecuing in their backyards. So if you are doing menial jobs, the tendency is, I've experienced this, guys, I've walked the road. When it's holidays, you want to pick an extra shift. On Christmas, on Family Day, you want to pick an extra shift. Half the time you are vying for these holiday shifts because they pay double or they pay more. And there's very little time to spend with your family. Or if you didn't bring a family, there's very little time left to yourself. So you are working hard all the time. It's because you are trying to make ends meet. You're trying to pay the bills, guys. So going to school will make sure that when you get a job, it pays better. You don't have to go for extra shifts. You enjoy your weekends, you enjoy your holidays, and even afford to travel, not just for vacation, but even travel back home to Zimbabwe. There's no situation that is so bad and desperate. You come, you are in your 40s, you start doing menial jobs. And by menial jobs, guys, I'm not saying care work is a menial job. No, it's not. But it will be better if you are young to further your education. There's a lot of other menial jobs that don't make as much as care worker jobs, right? So you start working and you don't think of going to school. You work, before you know it, it's 5 years into the diaspora. It's 10 years. It's 15 years. By the time it's 15 years, you are getting older. Now maybe you are 55. You think, now should I be going to school? Your body is beginning to get tired too. You're beginning to feel it. Should I go back to school? It feels like it's too late. And when you look at the people that are going to school, they look like they would be your children. Now you're really convinced and you are really serious about going to school. But now you are saying, if I go to school, it's gonna be 3, 4, 5 years of school, and by then I'm 60. How long am I gonna be working? Is this schooling now is this investment in school worth it? And before you know it, you don't go. Now you live with some kind of regret. And then as people get into weekends, they visit each other, you see how some people are living a certain lifestyle, just like back home, you know. People that have invested in education, generally speaking, I'm not saying for everybody, guys, don't come at me. Generally speaking, they would have generally a better lifestyle, maybe better, even if they run their own businesses, maybe they have better opportunities to get contracts because they can express themselves in a certain way that some people can't. And then when you start feeling old, Now maybe you can't work as many shifts as you used to before. Now you start making less money. Unfortunate thing, you can't afford to travel to Zimbabwe, you can't afford a vacation, you can't afford a weekend off. Now what's going to happen to you? You see why I stress the importance of education, because once you have your education, opportunities open up for you. As you get older, because maybe your jobs are more work in these professional jobs, you can work late into your 60s, and when you get older you can start picking less shifts or less hours, and your body is not beat up. You don't want to have to regret, oh, I wish I'd known. Open your eyes, be observant. Who is doing what? How are Zimbabweans, or how are Kenyans, or how are Ugandans, Senegalese living? Why are some people better than others? What is it that they've done that the other people have not done? It all boils down to education. Do not skip this. I wouldn't care if I had to walk the same road again. I came to the diaspora when I was 35 or 36, 35 maybe, if I remember well. And the first thing I did within 3 months of arriving in the US, I'd come with I'm saying things maybe, I don't know if I should be saying. I'd come to the US with a visitor's visa to visit. And the good thing, I'd brought my children with me. Now, just those 3 months, I had visited a few Zimbabwean families. I'd never visited anybody outside Zimbabwe because, well, I didn't know them. I didn't have any connections to have visited those people, right? So I visited a few Zimbabweans, and I saw how different people were living. And for some people, I didn't have to ask. I could tell they were educated. Some people would just say, oh, I came here, I did this, I went to medical school, I did my RN, I did my BSN, I did my physician assistant. And some people came and they never did anything. They are sharing apartments because that's the only way to afford. And I said to myself, is this the kind of life I want for myself? I said, I better gear up myself. So I enrolled in college. Within the 3 months, my visa was still valid. So I changed my visitor's visa to student visa, which was legal. It was okay. And pursued my education to graduation. One thing, it might be discouraging because before you start your main program, they require you to do prerequisites. It's classes that are required to help with the main program you are going to be taking. Like in the nursing program is microbiology, is developmental or abnormal psychology. All those classes you're going to have to take. So if you came and you needed to do a GED, I didn't have to do a GED. But if you came and you needed to do a GED and it's going to take you 2 or 3 years to do GED, and then prerequisites, maybe another 2 years or so, plus your program, another 4 years, how many? So that's why I'm saying education is important. So if you ever plan to be coming to the diaspora in one of the days, do not underestimate the power of the education in your country. Because if you're gonna be well educated, it means your English is gonna be better. It's gonna put you at a level where you can start at a different level. You may not even have to do your GED, but if you had to do it fair and fine. People have done it and have now become medical doctors, even surpassed those who came to the diaspora with degrees, right? So this is all I'm just trying to say. The degrees will open opportunities for you. You become very flexible. All I'm saying is to encourage. When you are young, coming, once you acquire your education, life is going to be easier. You make more money to be able to take care of family. Like in my case, I brought kids. So now I had the privilege to enjoy my weekends, my holidays with family. And now once there's more money, you can afford to buy a nice house. You can afford to buy what you want. I mean, not everybody, not everything. You can't afford it. But now you have a more decent life. You can plan weekends. You can plan holidays. You can plan evenings with family. You have time to take your children out. You have time to take your children to activities. You have time to encourage and help your children with schoolwork. which if we're doing menial jobs, half the time these kids are alone back home because parents are busy trying to make more money and they can't help themselves. Sometimes they won't even do their homework, and the result is going to be disaster, guys, because those kids, by the time you know it, they have not done well in school. And what have you done? You've taken an entire family, and now the better life you had moved to the diaspora for, you can't even realize it. So I'm saying education is key. So the kind of lifestyle that you want should be compelling enough to take up whatever you want, guys, in the diaspora. If you found the video helpful, please give a thumbs up, share, like, and subscribe. Otherwise, this is all for this video. Thank you. Until next time, Cecilia, Zawi TV. Bye-bye.